Good morning students of class 6. Today we are meeting after vacation. So first of all I would like to wish you all a very happy new year. Now we are going to start our today's topic, that is Chandragupta II. In the previous video we have learned about Samudragupta's his achievements. Yes, so in chapter number 9, the Guptas is the very important ruler Chandragupta II, who was the son of Samudragupta. Today we will learn about him, his achievements, what he did for his kingdom, for his empire. So let's begin. Students, just we have discussed that Chandragupta II was the son of Samudragupta. He was very famous ruler in Gupta's dynasty of Gupta's dynasty. He is called Vikramaditya. Why he is called Vikramaditya? Because he defeated the Sak dynasty, who ruled over Malwa, Gujarat. And due to this victory over Sak, Chandragupta II got the title of Vikramaditya. So we call him Chandragupta Vikramaditya. There are many inscriptions which are located at Mehrauli at Delhi, then Udaygiri, Sanchi, and it is also located at Mathura. What is inscription? We all know that inscription is a form of writing which were written on hard surfaces like rocks, pillars and metals. Yes. So at those places inscriptions were found, and after reading those inscriptions we came to know about Chandragupta II or Vikramaditya. Yes. Now we all know that Fahian, he was a Chinese pilgrim, he was a great scholar. Fahian, he came to India during the reign of Chandragupta II. It is very important. This question is very important. It is being asked in several examinations. Yes, so you have to learn this thing, that Fahian, a Chinese pilgrim who arrived in India during the reign of Chandragupta II. So this was the introduction about Chandragupta II, and he ruled from 375 AD to 414 AD. Yes, so for a long time he ruled over and we can just think that any ruler, if he rules over a long period, definitely he is a great king. So we can say that he was a great king of Gupta dynasty. Now we are going to discuss about his achievements during his reign, what he achieved, which territories he annexed, to which rulers he defeated. So these victories are actually the achievements of a ruler. Yes. So he married his daughter Prabhavati. It is not given in our book, in our syllabus, but just for your knowledge I am telling you that his daughter name was Prabhavati, and he married his daughter to a prince who belonged to Vagatak dynasty, who ruled over northern Deccan part. Yes, in this way, through this marriage alliance, he succeeded to control over northern Deccan part of India. And as we began in the topic that the Guptas were in the beginning they established their rule near Prayag in UP. So in North India, and during Chandragupta's second rule, the extension of empire, Gupta's empire, became from North India to southern part of India, so Deccan, northern Deccan. So through this marriage alliance, he got control over Deccan. Yes, but the prince of Vagatak, to whom his daughter was married, he died soon, and her young son became the king, but he was very young, so the virtual ruler actually was Chandragupta II's daughter Prabhavati. Yes, so in this way you might have been understood that in this way Chandragupta II controlled over Deccan part. So we can say that this was one of his achievements, that he extended his empire from north to southern part. Yes. Next thing is that which areas came under his control in the Deccan region, like we can say the Gujarat, the Malwa, Saurashtra. These areas came under his control. Yes, and he also managed to control over the western sea coast. He conquered over the busy port of Brooke and Cambay, which is located near Bay of Khambhat. Yes, and thus after control over these two busy ports, he established trade relations with another countries, and it benefited Chandragupta II, and he acquired a lot of wealth through the trade. Yes, so this was also his achievement, we can say. And we all know that Malwa, Madhya Pradesh, Ujjain is the major city of Madhya Pradesh, and when he controlled over the Deccan part, over the Malwa, over the Madhya Pradesh, he made Ujjain his capital. Yes, so Ujjain was the second capital. We can say that under him, the Guptas reached to its glory. Yes, he patronized art, architecture and trade. Yes, so that's why Guptas reached its glory during the period of during the rule of Chandragupta II. We just said that he patronized art, architecture, trade. Yes, he also patronized the scholars, and 9 gems were in his court. 9 gems, we all know that the precious stone. So 9 gems is referred to the 9 scholars, the poets. Yes, and Kalidas was one of the 9 gems in the court of Chandragupta II. Kalidas, we all know that he was the great scholar of Sanskrit. Many books have been written by him, like Meghdut, Abhigyan Sakuntalam. Yes, apart from Kalidas, Aryabhatta, who gave the concept of zero decimal system, the rotation of Earth on its axis, and Earth revolves around the Sun. These all theories were proposed by Aryabhatta. Dhanvantari, Varamihir. So some of these personalities where they lived in the court of Chandragupta II. So that's why it is very important that in Chandragupta II 9 gems were there. Among them, these were the names, and you have to learn this. This is very important. Yes. But in the mid of 5th century, the Central Asian tribe called Huns. Yes, Huns. They were Central Asian tribes, tribe groups they were. After Chandragupta II, the successors of Gupta dynasty were very weak, and Huns, they took advantage of that and they attacked on Guptas, and due to their attack, Gupta empire became weak, and after later on finally it has been collapsed. Yes, so it is also important that due to attack of Huns, Gupta's empire, their rule declined. Yes, one more important thing, the successor of Chandragupta II was Kumar Gupta. Yes, and he established Nalanda University. It is very, very important, though it is not in our syllabus, but we are talking about Gupta's period. So without this, the matter will not be solved. We can say that Nalanda University of Bihar, it is very famous. We all know that how big it was. Many books were there. Many scholars from foreign countries, they used to come at that time and used to learn the teachings of Buddhism in Nalanda University. So it was established by a Gupta ruler, Kumar Gupta, successor of Chandragupta II. Yes. So this part we have discussed. Now we are going to read that the Huns, when they attacked, they controlled over some of the areas which were under the control of Guptas earlier, but now these areas have been captured by Huns, like Punjab, Kashmir and Malwa. Just we have discussed that during the reign of Chandragupta II, Malwa came under the control of Guptas, but Huns taken Malwa, Kashmir, Punjab from Guptas. Yes, and by the 6th century AD, the Gupta empire had broken up. So in 6th century, Gupta's rule ended in India. Yes. After that, we are going to read about Fayan's account, because he came during the reign of Chandragupta II. So he stayed very long time in India, and he traveled everywhere, and whatever he experienced in India about the Gupta's ruler, he wrote about the Gupta's administration, about the Gupta's rulers, and mainly he wrote about Chandragupta II. Yes, and he threw light on the administrative system of Guptas. Like he discussed in his account about Pataliputra, where the large buildings were there. He mentioned in his account. The roads were very good and comfortable, well maintained, we can say. There were many palaces in the Pataliputra. Yes, and the laws were very simple. According to Fayan, during during Gupta's rule, the laws were very simple and the punishment were not severe. The punishment were not harsh, and people were very honest in the Gupta's period, and they also followed the rules, the laws set up by the king. So we can say they were law-abiding people and they were very honest also. Fayan lamented over the neglect of the Buddhist worship places like Bodh Gaya, Kushinagar and Kapil Vastu. Lamented means to cry over. He expressed his sadness, his sorrowness, that during Gupta's rule, the Buddhist worship places were not taken care of properly. Yes, and he was a Buddhist. Fayan was a Buddhist. That's why he said. And in this way, through his account, we came to know that during Gupta's rule, the Buddhism became a little bit unpopular. Yes, and the kings were not interested. They were not promoting the Buddhism religion. As we have discussed in Mauryan time, the rulers promoted Buddhism. So this was the difference in Maurya and in Guptas. Yes. So we have finished that what he said, what he wrote about Gupta's empire, whatever it is given in our book. Now we are going to discuss about the administrative system of Guptas. Yes. Administrative system. Under this topic, it is given in our book that the rulers of Gupta period, they assumed, they adopted titles like Vikramaditya, Maharajadhiraj. So we can say that they assumed very high sounding titles. Yes, like Vikramaditya and Maharajadhiraj, just we have discussed. They also used to perform sacrifices like Ashwamedh and Rajaswamedh. Ashwamedh, it is a kind of sacrifice which was famous at that time. A king used to release his horse independently, and wherever the horse used to go from one kingdom to another, and if anyone is not challenging, if anyone is not capturing that horse, it is believed that that part, that kingdom came under the control of the ruler who was performing the Ashwamedh sacrifice. Yes, and suppose if any ruler has captured the horse, at that time the fight started between these two rulers. Yes, the ruler which has sent the horse and the ruler which has captured the horse, because the ruler which has captured the horse, it means that he was not going to accept the authority, the supremacy of that king. Yes, so there, he used to give challenge that king, and after the fight, whosoever got victory, the ruler had to accept the authority of the king, of the victorious king. Yes, so this was about the Sumedh sacrifice. After that, we are coming to the point about the administrative system. Yes, so the king was assisted, helped by a council of ministers, and that was called Mantri Parishad. Yes, Mantri, all the ministers were highly paid officials, and sometimes they even led the armies in the wars. Yes, and later on, the ministers were given land grant instead of salary, instead of cash. So in this way, the ministers got many portions of land, and thus they became very powerful. Yes. So in Gupta's period, the officers were granted land. Yes, this part is also very important. After that, we are going to read about the provincial administration. Yes, province means at present time a state. Yes, so the whole empire, because we have just discussed that the empire was very large from north to south, it was extended, so it was very difficult to administer by just one king. So the king has divided his empire into different parts. So the whole empire was divided into this provinces, like states, and further the provinces, the states were further divided into districts, and further the districts were divided into villages. So, and in each province there was one head who looked after the affairs, the administration of that province. Yes, and it was under the control of a governor, and the governor was called in Gupta's period Uparikas, and the province was called Bhuktis. So Bhuktis means province, and governor, the other name for governor was I said just Uparikas. Yes. Further, the states, the provinces were divided into districts, and districts were called Visay. Districts were called Visay in the Gupta's period, and the head of district was called Visaypati. Yes. So in this way, the administration was going on, and there was one more important official, Kumar Matyas. He actually acted as a link between district and province. Yes, so these were the officials who looked after the provinces. So this was the provincial administration. After that, we are going to read about local administration. Local administration means the village and the city. So first of all, we will discuss about the village. Again, in a village there was a council in which the elder persons, the wise persons of that village became the member of that council, and there was one head chosen from those people, from those members of council who looked after the affairs of village. Yes. And a city was administered by the head of the city, which is also an elected person. Yes, and apart from that, head in the city, they were representatives of guilds of merchants and artisans. Guild is kind of association of merchants and artisans. So they also represented in the administration of city. And scribes, as representatives of scribes, they were also the part of administration in city. Scribes were the person who wrote anything very beautifully. Yes, because at that time there was no printing press. Yes, so people used to write manually, and we all know that those person whose handwriting is very good, only they were said to write the books. And those persons who have the skill of writing, beautiful writing, like in our school there is one teacher, Manoj sir, his writing is very good, so we can say is a scribe. Yes, so these were the persons who were involved in the administration of city. Yes, so thus we have learned some of the things of Gupta's period about Chandragupta. Second, his achievements. Yes, we have learned about Fayan's account, what he described in his book, and we have also discussed about the administrative system of Guptas, that it was divided into provinces, then districts, then villages. Yes, and each part was under the control of one person. And in this way we have discussed today's topic. In the next video we will discuss the next part of this chapter. Till then, goodbye, thank you, have a nice day.